Hello, in this video we're going to be looking at changing the subject of a formula. So the objective here is to rearrange a formula to make a different variable the subject. So a couple of definitions before we get started. So the subject is the letter that's by itself. So we want to make a different letter by itself, and we're going to do this by using inverse operations. So here's an example. So we need to make x the subject. So we have y equals 3x plus 7. So to do this, we first need to ask what is in the way of x being by itself. So we can see that the thing that's in the way of x being by itself is this 3 and this plus 7. So we first need to start by getting rid of a plus 7. So we do that by minusing 7 from both sides. So we get y take away 7 equals 3x. And then we need to get rid of this 3. So the opposite of multiplying by 3 is dividing by 3. So we're going to divide both sides by 3. So we end up with x equals y minus 7 divided by 3. And now we have x that's the subject. So x is the thing that's by itself. And so we have successfully made x the subject. So this question here, we want to make a the subject. So the thing that's in the way of a being by itself is this divide by t. So the opposite of dividing by t is times in by t. So we need to times both sides by t. So we end up with a equals m times t. This example here, we want to make h the subject. So the thing that's in the way of h being by itself is the k and the plus 3. So firstly, we need to get rid of that k. So to get rid of that k, because what we're doing is times in those brackets by k, we can divide both sides by k. So we end up with a over k equals h plus 3. And now to get rid of this plus 3, we're going to minus 3 from both sides. So we end up with h equals a over k minus 3. So this example, we want to make d the subject. So the thing that's in the way of d being by itself is this divide by t. So we're going to times by t. So we end up with vt equals d, and now we have d by itself. So this example, we want to make x the subject. So the thing that's in the way of x being by itself is this plus 5 and this square root sign. So we need to get rid of the square root by doing the inverse. So the opposite of square rooting is squaring. So we need to square both sides. So we end up with a squared equals x plus 5. Now to get rid of the plus 5, we need to do the opposite of adding 5. So we subtract 5 from both sides. So we end up with x equals a squared minus 5. And now we have x by itself. This example here, we want to get p by itself. So the thing that's in the way of p being by itself is the minus 1 and the cube. So to get rid of the minus 1, we need to add 1. So we have v plus 1 equals p cubed. And now to get rid of the cubed, the inverse of cubing is cube rooting. So we're going to cube root both sides. So we end up with p equals the cube root of v plus 1. So this example, we want to make x a subject. So we have y equals a half x squared. So we want to get rid of the half and we want to get rid of the squared. Now to get rid of the half, so the opposite of times in by a half is actually times in by 2. So times in by a half is the same as dividing by 2. Alternatively, what we could do is we could write this as x squared over 2. And the opposite of dividing by 2 is times in by 2. So if we times 2 to both sides, we end up with 2y equals x squared. And now we want to get x by itself. So we need to get rid of this squared. So the opposite of squaring is square rooting. So we end up with x equals the square root of 2y. So here's an exam style question. So we want to make r the subject of c equals 2 pi r for 2 marks. So the thing that's in the way of r being by itself is this 2 pi. So we've simply times r by 2 pi. So the opposite of times in by 2 pi is dividing by 2 pi. So we're going to divide both sides by 2 pi. And we end up with r equals c over 2 pi. And that is our answer. So here's a couple of quick fire practice questions. Pause the video if you want to have a go at these, and I will show you the answers in a short moment. Okay, so here are the answers. Well done if you had a go at those, and well done if you got them correct. So that's everything for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time in another video. Bye.